Gamers, happy April and happy late April Fools. Hope you didn't get fooled too hard, and if you did, well, you know what they say about fools.
He says, fool me once, shame on.
Anyways, I'm here to talk about the games that I played for the first 3 months of the year, and maybe give you all some recommendations and tell you what I liked and didn't like. But, you know, this year, the first 3 months have been kind of weird for me. You know, I had to move, I had to take care of a lot of stuff, but ultimately, here we are, and without further ado, let's get into the list. The first game I want to talk about is not the first game I played this year, but it is the one that if most people in this video stick around to this part, I hope you hear about this. It is a game called Consume Me. It is made by Jenny Xiaoxia and some friends over at, well, they don't have a development studio, that's just their names. But anyways, check this out on Steam. It is an autobiographical game made by Jenny, and the main character's name is also Jenny, and it tells a lot of her stories from high school and early college. The thing that made me want to play this game is actually how it's kind of about eating disorders as per the title. It's about dieting, but also keeping a huge list of responsibilities in check, chores and homework and stuff like that. And again, it takes this story-based approach, so you're kind of going through it linearly, but it really is a pretty deep game when the systems come into play. All the chores that you do play like WarioWare style minigames, even reading a book, and eating is kind of like a shape-based puzzle, which I think is really just fitting. The game also does its fair job to warn you that, you know, eating disorders are a very serious thing, and it does its best to abstract it enough to where it's still fun and compatible with this kind of cutesy art style that it's got going on. But overall, you're still doing what you can to balance your energy levels, your happiness, and your hunger, as well as, again, later a relationship maybe, and homework and exams and all the stuff that comes with growing up. And it's a great game for those of us that kind of like to do everything and prove that they have good task management and can get an A in all their classes and blah, blah, blah. But it's a bad game for those that are easily overwhelmed or even struggle to engage with, you know, everything that the game has to offer. Like, I got an A++ score because I did every possible objective and side objective and the whole shebang, but it also has like 12 or more different endings that mostly you get by failing to do things. And you know, I can get that this game can be a little stressful for some and more or less fun for others. But I wanted to talk about this game because, yeah, it came out in a really competitive year. Last year was a big year for indies. Silk Song, Hades 2, Blueprints, Bolix Pit. It's a lot of big games, and unfortunately, I think even though we got a lot of really good games, it did make this game miss out on what I would have considered a really good nomination, even a debut indie nomination. I really think that this game had what it takes. It's got a lot of emotional impact, you know, the more you play it and the more you engage with it, you know, the more that you care about Jenny and the things she's going through, and the more you can try to relate to what she is really trying to do. I will warn you, it's got a bit of a religious section, like halfway through one of the last chapters, and while again, this is more biographical and it's true to Jenny's story and what she went through, it might rub you the wrong way. It's not too overly preachy for me. I mean, I'm partly religious myself, but it is very notable. It requires a bit of critical thinking and seeing it through. But overall, I really do think that it's one of the best games, indie games of last year. And it is one of my favorites in a recent memory. And again, I'm singing this game's praises. Maybe it could have been better in different ways, but ultimately, I'm not sponsored. I just want to see an indie game like this succeed, and I think it did really well. The creator, Jenny, is actually also doing a sort of social media campaign. She's trying to get to 1 million sales, and she's posting every day until she hits this goal over on TikTok, and I believe also YouTube and Instagram Reels. But really, guys, I do think that this game shouldn't fly under the radar, especially just because it came out in as busy a year as it did. I'll be honest, I think maybe I got the game through a bundle of some sort, but I would love to see more people pick this game up. I really do think it's one of the special few games that really does its best to use the medium as an art form. So please, go check it out and let me know if you picked this up. Now moving on to a game that you're probably aware of and probably heard me talk about before. I think I mentioned this in the every game I played in 2025 video, but it's Bolix Pit, another indie game. I still am playing this game and I'm making pretty decent progress because it really is a game that you can pick up and put down for like 15-20 minutes at a time. And, you know, I'm building out my town, I'm unlocking levels, and I'm really trying to take my time to just clear every stage with every character. You know, it's a good game if you're on a plane or on a road trip. And again, anytime you're kind of trying to kill some time. But actually, again, not sponsored, it's so good at these things that it actually came to mobile this month. And while I personally won't be getting it on mobile because I feel like I've already made too much progress on my Steam version, I definitely would recommend that if anybody is picking this up for the first time, you do pick it up on mobile instead. just because, you know, it's so good as a time-sinking game here and there that maybe it'll kill your productivity, but I think it really does just shine on mobile. You know, it's got that roguelike, but replayability, like for me, what I thought of Balatro. I feel like I could play those games until the end of time, just a little bit here and there, and sometimes the feeling will just strike, right? So I think it's really good, and I really do think it deserves a fair shot. Another game that I think deserves a fair shot, especially because it is free, is Straftat. I played this on the recommendation of my friend Nathan, friend of the channel. You might have seen him on the Avowed video. So this game is a free-to-play PvP arena shooter, kind of like Quake and GoldenEye on the N64. It's got this like low poly, grungy indie art style, if that's something that scratches your brain in that right spot. But it's also got a good variety of maps and weapons with some fun gimmicks here and there. And again, it's free to play. I played this with a group of 4 of my friends, and we had a really good time for about 2 hours or so. Again, there's also paid DLC if you want to support this game and you really enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, it's a free game. I want to pronounce this right. It's a game by the brothers. And I think that if anything, this game deserves to shine as a really well executed passion project. Even if the goal is maybe something more, it's a good game to play at least once. Give it a shot. It's free, have fun, and hopefully the brothers can have more games for us down the line. And the next game I played isn't really a full game, it's more of a demo. I played the demo for Marvel Cosmic Invasion. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up from Tribute Games. These games aren't usually my thing, but thankfully, again, they have a demo if that's also the situation that you're in, so you can go and try it for free. I think it was a 20-minute or so demo going through maybe 2 stages, but I really gotta point out, it feels like these games have come a long way since the last time I really played one of these, which was those early arcade button mashers. I gotta say, it's got more fun and fluid animation. The characters are done very well as someone that's a big comic book nerd and kind of really wants to see these characters shine in anything they're in. And yeah, it's got a nice variety of enemies and locations from what I can tell. But at the same time, it's fairly easy for newcomers. Now, at the same time, it is $30, and that $30 price tag may seem a bit steep, which is, you know, I won't be playing it for the foreseeable future. It's not a game that really is calling out to me right now, but I do think that maybe down the line, or if I see it on sale, or if something bites me, I might want to actually give it a full shot. But if this looks like something that's up your alley, or you really like side-scrolling beat-em-ups, I think it'll be worth your time. Another game that I played is Counter-Strike 2. I'll be honest, I played this mostly because my favorite streamer, Northern Lion, played it on stream. And no, I didn't open any cases, but I also played it with some of my friends who had never played Counter-Strike before. Counter-Strike is just one of those games that's been around for forever. And, you know, it seems like while it is built on a solid foundation, I think some of the mechanics are still just a bit dated for some.
I don't want to be working in ballet or opera.
One that's barely getting into this. That's why a lot of my friends didn't really appreciate this game as much and didn't really want to stick around. And I don't really blame them.
You know, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this.
It's just the fact that for some reason, there's just something that feels that if you weren't really into Counter-Strike before, you might not be super into it now. And this isn't the case for everyone.
All respect to the ballet and opera people out there.
But if you're one of those gamers that maybe just likes more new and perhaps even fast-paced, I can't really put my finger on it. It just feels like there's a reason that Counter-Strike is still around, but there's also a reason that games like Valorant that are kind of the same thing, but with a different coat of paint, different mechanics, are also popular.
I just lost 14 cents in viewership, but...
And there's a ton of other different multiplayer live service games that you could be playing right now. So this isn't the kind of game that works for me and my friends, but who knows? We'll see.
Damn, I just took shots for no reason.
And another game that I played, and I'm actually kind of sad that I didn't love, is Mugenics. This is the latest title by Edmund McMillan, creator of The Binding of Isaac. And for those of you that don't know, it's a tactical strategy type game where you breed and adopt cats and then use those cats to fight through dungeons and beat a boss, and it's a roguelike, it's whatever. It got great reviews, but does that really mean anything nowadays? But whatever. Overall, I think the game has good bones. Like, it's definitely made by somebody that has made a very good video game before and has refined their process, but it just didn't really click with me. The humor in this game doesn't appeal to me. Maybe it's too poop-based or too millennial or whatever. I just didn't really click with that. And I also don't feel like the cat angle is right for me. I have 2 cats. I love my 2 cats. I love cats. Now, I don't think that getting cats to have babies and then disposing of them is right in my brain. Like, I get it. It's just a video game. It's just pixels. It's a mechanic. It's a different idea. Great. It just didn't click with me. And I hate to think that maybe if it had a different coat of paint or even a different setting, that I would have liked it more. I did play for a few sessions, and again, on a gameplay level, I do have some critique. Sessions felt a bit long, but I think it's just an issue of the game didn't click with me because some people are loving it, and that's fine. That's what video games are for. It's for people with different tastes. It's for people with different tolerances and different approaches to games and game design. Like, it's fine. I heard that the game gets deeper and more engaging later, but I'm not willing to play that long to find out. I've got a huge backlog, but I hope that whoever's enjoying this game is enjoying it still. And that it's definitely a critical and financial success from the looks of it, so happy to see an indie dev get their flowers. Now, one game that I also really want to talk about is Resident Evil 4 Remake. That's the next game I played and beat, and I've been putting this off for a while, I know. Listen, I loved Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I also played Resident Evil 3 Remake right after, which might have been a mistake, but whatever. But those two games back to back kind of made me put off Resident Evil 4 Remake because I needed a break from the whole survival horror shooter, and the point is, I was also kind of nervous to play Resident Evil 4 Remake because I was worried that it would feel too different from Resident Evil 2 because I really loved Resident Evil 2 and I heard that it was sort of more actiony, and I was also worried that it wouldn't live up to the hype. It was sort of this self-fulfilling prophecy where I was sabotaging myself by not playing the game and therefore delaying what was probably a really good experience. And long story short, I'm happy to say it was. What got me to play it was actually the fact that RE9 was coming out, and I really did want to play RE9, but this all leads back to Resident Evil 4. I'm happy to say that I really enjoyed it, and I think it definitely deserves the top spot in a lot of people's Resident Evil games of all times list. Overall, it was just good. It was fun. The enemy variety is great in this game. Nothing ever felt like it got too stale, and location variety is part of that too. Like, a lot of different environments just keep the pacing kind of fresh. Now, I will admit that some enemies personally are more frustrating than they are fun, but I think it's all in the spirit of creating some good contrast. Like, not every enemy should be easy and fun to deal with. It's just contrast. I think that's probably just good game design, and it's good that it's getting under my skin a little bit. But I don't know if the same goes for locations. It feels like the story kind of drags on towards the end. Like, you're rescuing Ashley, the president's daughter, and how many more times does she have to get kidnapped after you've already caught up with her once? It drags on one too many times, one too many levels, but ultimately, I still wanted more when I was done with it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword there, right? Like, the game felt like it dragged on, but it felt like it wasn't long enough, and I wonder what that was. I wonder how you could fix something like that. But thankfully for me, all I had to do was play the Separate Ways DLC, and I was happy to do that. I was happy to see more of Ada Wong. I think she's a really interesting character because of how little you know about her. And I also really think that the gameplay just feels refreshing after one full playthrough. It's almost like playing it 1.5 times or 1.25 times. Like, you didn't have to do a whole extra playthrough. And that's good because it really made me realize that some of the areas or the enemies were not worth going a full second replay right away, which is good because I need to move on to Resident Evil 9. I have high expectations for Resident Evil 9. I hope it's not too scary. I've heard that it's probably the scariest one yet, and that's not good because I really couldn't get through the Resident Evil 7 horror, but I'll report back. I think that hopefully it's just a good fun time and that I don't want to quit it. But yeah, I'm excited to see how Resident Evil 9 wraps up Leon's story, maybe. And cool, after that long-winded speech about Resident Evil, another game I want to talk about is Mega Bonk. Mega Bonk it's kind of like a Vampire Survivors bullet hell type of game, but it's 3D and it's got some added cool factor, quote unquote. It's silly things like skateboarding and guns. It's overall a lot of the Vampire Survivors formula, just in a different platter. It's refreshing for someone like me that played a lot of Vampire Survivors, even to the point where I put it on my phone. It's also not a completely fresh experience. It's fun for a newcomer. I think if you've never played Vampire Survivors or any other kind of game like that, I think Mega Bonk will definitely be cool and exciting. But, for me, I beat a few runs of Mega Bonk, and I don't think I'm going back to it too much more. It's not that it's a bad game. It's just that I've played enough of both of these games to really get my fill. And the next game on the list is Dispatch from Ad Hoc Studio, and obviously this is kind of like a story-based game like Telltale, Walking Dead, or Wolf Among Us, and it has some of the same staff. But overall, the world building is great. As a superhero fan, I'm glad to see superheroes that are not just powerful and inspiring, but also have flaws and are genuine people. And part of that is just good writing, even if it feels like it's a bit millennial coded at times. It's also got an amazing voice cast. You got Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, and even content creators coming in to do voice work like Moist Critical, Alana Pierce. I mean, I know Alana Pierce has also done game development as well. Jacksepticeye. Like, it's got a lot of different voices is what I'm getting at. Everybody kind of feels real in that sense. I'm playing this with my girlfriend. We've got 2 or 3 more episodes to go. I think we really like the story section. I've played more of the dispatching sections, and they're good. They add to the story, they give it some pacing, some background development, but I don't love too much of the hacking sections for some reason. I don't know if that's just me or if that just could have used some more polish, but I really do think that overall the story is really good. I think if you were to just watch someone else play it, it's a perfect couch game or a backseat game, and it really is Twilight for boys, and I think that's great. Overall, I'm kind of sad to have missed the hype and the discussion that was happening live when these episodes were still being released, but I think I can still kind of get that feeling when I just look up stuff about the game in general. But it would have been probably a little cooler to be going through everything in real time and pauses in between episodes to really think about what's going to happen next, or just really digest everything. But I also want to point out that I found a really cool YouTuber because of this. Check out Poopy Show. This sounds like a really bad name, but she does literally some of the better commentary content that I've seen, especially from an animated YouTuber as of late. The video I'm talking about specifically is What Has Dispatch Done to Women, and it's just a fun approach to why some of the male characters are baby girl coded and why they pop off online. But anyways, thanks for listening to that. Now I gotta bore you with another long rant. So I played about 200 hours of Arc Raiders. And for those of you that are out of the loop, Arc Raiders is kind of just this beginner-friendly extraction shooter. It's the best way that I can kind of simplify that. But the point is, it really was a massive success. It brought a massive amount of players into this genre that had never experienced it before and was previously too hardcore. That's me included. I never played an extraction shooter before. And it had a really awesome approach to PvE and cooperating and friendly engagement that was mainstream, which is kind of rare in games that are just more PvP coded in general. Now, at the same time, I kind of probably exhausted myself and all of the content in the game with over 200 hours. And the developers also were a bit slow to add meaningfully new content. The best that they could seemingly think of was new skins for maps, essentially, like weather conditions and whatever. But again, that's partly on me for playing so much of it all at once. Now, the thing is, I was looking for something else. I kind of outgrew Arc Raiders, and that's where Marathon comes in. Now, Marathon was a game that I was kind of following and even maybe expecting it to fail. That was mostly because it had a really rough development cycle. It had rough feedback from critics and early playtesters. It stole art assets from an actual IRL artist and then used them in their designs that also caused the game to be delayed for months. And it was just a mess, and it's from Bungie, who, feel what you feel about Bungie and how they handled Destiny for 10 years or whatever. But overall, I gave it a shot. I felt like it deserved a shot for some reason, and thankfully, I actually kind of enjoyed it. The gunplay feels great. The lore is genuinely interesting to me, and it can actually kind of feel addicting just to loot and do PvP, which the PvE is also tougher than Arc Raiders, but not impossible to navigate. But the PvP is mostly what you'll be doing, probably, because it's just not as friendly as Arc Raiders. At the end of the day, it's an extraction shooter, and while Arc Raiders has this ho-hum us versus the machine narrative, Marathon has more of a you versus others narrative, because it also plays more like Apex, where it's more of this battle royale type of thing. There's no one in-game incentive to dissuade you from PvP. There's actually an entire progression system that only progresses with PvP. It's kind of, natural that there's no cooperation here. But, at the end of the day, it kind of just boils down to extraction shooter plus hero shooter. You got these shells, which are essentially heroes, and they all have different abilities that give you an advantage, either by being more sneaking based or helping you gather intel about your surroundings or what you can gather, and also just maybe give you some extra firepower, which I think is great. I think it really adds something nice and fun to the approach, but it's also maybe a bit much, and there are some things that keep me from recommending it completely to other people. First of all, loadouts aren't quite simple. It's more like doing a build. All the weapons are common. Every single weapon is common. There's no rare weapon. What makes weapons rare is attachments. The attachments raise rarity and stats, and every stat except damage. Damage never goes up. It's more about being consistent. It's about accuracy, hitting more shots, or maybe silencing your shots for a different playstyle, or even a bigger magazine just to get more bullets out. There's stuff like that. That's how you balance, quote unquote, your loadout. It's a bit more involved. And the UI is just a bit unfriendly. It's gotten better with some patches, but it's definitely form over function, unfortunately, and as cool as it looks, that's kind of the price you pay. And at the end of the day, it's a Bungie game and it's a live service game. So the problem I'm having is that cosmetics are not worth the price. They're basically just recolors of existing skins, and granted, there's some balancing that comes with that. Marvel Rivals has great skins, but they make actually competitive edge melt away and everyone starts looking the same and you can't tell them from far away and it sucks. The Battle Pass is also kind of the same thing in this game, nothing much other than a few cosmetics, and I think it's all just a bit overpriced if that's what it is. And a live service game, unfortunately, does rely on player spending to keep games like these afloat long term. And it's just hard to see how they're going to make money down the line, or what's their big life raft, what's going to keep this game going. And one thing that I haven't mentioned is, unfortunately, this game is a trios-based game. You can do solos, and they just added duos. But I got two of my friends to play this game, and they both kind of fell off of it. One of them completely refunded it, and the other one just kind of went back to Arc Raiders because they got the game as a gift. You can't really refund that, that's fair. It was just too much. It was either too competitive, too hardcore, not enough of something else in this game that maybe, again, they got from Arc Raiders. But for me, it just happened to hit right, and that kind of makes sense. If one of three people really like this game, then it makes sense to me that 400,000 players of Arc Raiders translates to 80,000 or so in Marathon. And so I think it's just maybe a little bit more niche than it intended to be. But overall, I've been playing it solo, and while it does kind of change the pace to be more of a horror game, I'm still having fun. I'm enjoying the game. I love getting the loot, and I do feel like I'm pretty good at the PvP, but it's already getting a bit repetitive. And maybe that's a me issue. I've only put in about 30 hours, and maybe I can be playing riskier or changing my playstyle to make it feel fresh, but there's something about the solo game that's just different. Like, I also played solo Arc Raiders for a lot longer, and it's just interesting to me. Overall, I'm waiting to see how much longer this game can survive and what it'll do to keep me and other players interested, because, again, Bungie kept Destiny alive for a long time, and maybe they kind of even fumbled it at the end from what I hear, but the game has only sold slightly over 1 million copies. That's not much for how much Bungie and Sony spent on this game, and that kind of sucks, but we don't know if they're really happy with that, or happy enough to keep investing in it. Like, we know the numbers, but we don't know behind closed doors. And Arc Raiders is still very much around and probably has a lot more money to throw at its own issues long term, so maybe it'll just outlive it. But me personally, I want to see both games succeed, and it's just a matter of time to see what really happens. So honestly, again, that's kind of my take on this whole situation. Have fun. Let me know if you play Marathon or Arc Raiders or what you think, but whatever. And the last two games I want to talk about are Overwatch and Rainbow Six Siege. I mostly came back to these games because I played them so much over the years before even starting this channel. I made my first video talking trash about them because, I got sick of them and the games were pretty different back then. It felt like games like this in general hadn't quite figured out how to balance keeping players happy while also not taking advantage of them in predatory ways. But I think overall things have changed, and Overwatch 2 was kind of my biggest gripe with the thing, but they went and straight up removed the 2 and kind of went back to some of the things that made Overwatch better, like 6v6 and adding back the You're on Fire system and just stuff like that. There's also the 5 new characters that they added in one season, and a few changes that they've added to overall keep the game fresh, that kind of just feel different as an existing player coming back after a long time. Like, gameplay just feels faster now. Marvel Rivals obviously probably inspired this in the sense that faster gameplay just felt more engaging, and so Blizzard dialed things around to make that happen. but it feels like characters are still kind of balanced, and it still has that Blizzard level of quality that a competitive game needs. Because let's be honest, Marvel Rivals is, even though it is competitive, it's really more casual. It doesn't have that fine tuning or that really game development sort of sauce that you need, like even good sound design or whatever. So don't kill me, but that's just my take. The thing is, I also think stuff that isn't fixed necessarily. Maybe the battle pass is still not great, but it is feeling more optional than it used to be. And I'm glad actually that loot boxes for cosmetics are back and can be earned by playing matches. And that's really it. But you know, there's still stuff like collaborative skin, which I don't quite know how I feel about, like Hello Kitty skins. Like, sure, fine, I guess. Near Automata skins, that's cool, but why? You know, everything is starting to feel kind of like Fortnite, and I don't know how I feel about that. But that also leads me into Rainbow Six Siege.
I don't really have any ideas.
Sorry, hold on. Did I just see a fucking 2B skin for Iana?
I didn't want to tell you about it yesterday, but yeah.
Rainbow Six is a game that I played a lot with my college friends during lockdown. I don't know why I got into Rainbow Six, but I liked it a lot. I think I was good at it somewhat, right? And so I think I just clicked with it. But eventually something happened. I fell off of it. It is what it is. But what got me back is that they added Snake from Metal Gear Solid. And if you don't know about me, I'm a huge fan of Metal Gear. Specifically, the Snake games. I'm not a big fan of 2, but it is what it is. But I got the gang back together for a few nights of Siege. Aside from not being able to run the game on Linux, that's another video, by the way. But I was willing to dual boot Windows and see what was up. And so ultimately, I had fun. I'm glad they added Snake to the game and he was done well, and that was all fun. But we didn't stick around that long. Something, you know, Siege has definitely changed a bit. They went around and did that whole Siege X thing, but it doesn't feel that different. Things still feel generally the same. And while I had fun playing Snake, in a competitive game like Siege, his kit just wasn't compatible with my playstyle compared to other operators I play, and that kind of just left me feeling the same as when I dropped it. And as a result, I dropped it. So, you know, again, let me know if you're playing Siege, but let me know if you're playing Siege and what you think. Or again, overall, yeah, thanks for listening. That's all the games I played. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for sticking around. Let me know if you're playing anything right now, or if you finished any games in these first 3 months, or what you've picked up. And of course, let me know if there's anything that you think I should play that you've been playing as well. For me, I definitely want to play Resident Evil Requiem. That's up next. I wanted to play Crimson Desert. There's all that hype and conversation around it, but another $70 game doesn't really feel like I want to spend that and not play it. So I might wait for a sale. Let's see what happens. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out this year, and I'm excited about a lot of it, but I'll try to do this thing once a month. I'll try to report back. You know, instead of doing this every 3 months, hopefully once a month, and the videos are shorter and more fresh. But overall, thanks for listening. More videos coming soon, I promise. Even more scripted stuff. I'm working on that. But thanks for sticking around, and thanks for watching. Peace.